Yeah, I should win just because you had the Timberwolves in the 8th seed.
Vasilevsky's been playing really well, and the Lightning have a great offense.
Yeah, it was a tremendous shot, and I've come to expect it from LeBron, who's become one of the clutchest players in NBA history as of recently.
So I have him going off one night, but I think he's just going to get tired. So that's why the Nets winning in 5.
I would say I wish the best for the Red Sox, but as a Yankees fan, that's really hard for me to do.
The biggest addition to me is Jalen Brunson.
Both teams that beat the Rangers are rebuilding faster than the Rangers.
Why'd you have to name them? Like, seriously. Thanks, man. To me, those top 2 starters are Lucas Gaelito and Lance Flynn.
Kaprizov and the rest of this crew. Jordan Greenway, who doesn't get enough props. He definitely is somebody who needs to be mentioned more. I definitely think it's going to be a great series, and I'm interested to see how much Kaprizov can impact the game as a rookie.
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground when he finally decides who to throw to?
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
All I could think of was Dame.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now, if Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
And then I want to talk about the Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me. Because he's so young.
The Hurricanes just have too much. They're probably the most complete team this year, and I anticipate them winning.
You know what this means, Bengals. Take the nice one. Do not let what happened to Andrew Luck happen to Joe Burrow.
Clippers versus the Nets. Who would have thought 5 years ago that the Clippers and Nets would be facing in the finals?
But I have the Sixers versus Jazz.
Crazy. And for the fans at home, for the listeners at home.
Hello, I'm Cy Mendenhall, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our 63rd episode. Make sure to check out our latest interview with Cy Mendenhall, who is a great rugby star. It was great talking to him, and we really appreciated talking to him, and it's great, and you just heard that new intro, so make sure to go check that out. Also, make sure to check out our last episode, which is NHL first round review. And so we reviewed it, and made some predictions about the second round because our predictions, we got a little messed up by the Maple Leafs. Well, just the North Division that messed us up, which was surprising. But to get our full thoughts on that, make sure to go check out last episode. Now, we did a little shakeup because I was hoping the Mavs would win. Austin was hoping Clippers would win, so make sure to go check out our predictions. But since the West is still going on, but the East starts tonight, weird schedule, we're just doing an East review and a second round preview just for the East, and then we'll come out for the West. But for our East scoring from our predictions video, Austin and I are tied at 7. So we'll have to see how the West shakes out. Big pivotal matchup Sunday night. But let's start with the first game. I think this one was pretty surprising, just as how they did it. And that, of course, is the Bucks versus Heat, as Giannis becomes the 3rd player in Bucks history to have a triple-double in the playoffs. What are your thoughts on that, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great performance by Giannis and the rest of the crew. Brook Lopez really stepped up. He was scoring at least 20 points per game in most of the games that I saw. Drew Holiday was playing great defense, and the Bucks were ready after last year losing in the second round to the Heat. They avenged their loss with a sweep. I had the Bucks in 5, so I wasn't all that surprised with this result. But I really think the top 3 seeds in this conference are really the ones that I think are finals contenders. So we'll have to see whether or not they can defeat the Nets next round.
Yeah, I had the Bucks. I thought it was going to be a Game 7. The first game kind of gave me some hope. It going in overtime and Middleton hitting that great shot. But games 2 and 3, I don't believe 4, it wasn't that bad. Like game 2 and game 3 were pretty bad where they were just blowing them out. Which was just surprising, and that goes to show that getting Drew Holiday, as I think he was a good part, really worked well so far in the playoffs this year for the Bucks.
Yeah, I think it really has shown that the difference between Eric Bledsoe and Drew Holiday and how that trade is really influenced. Drew Holiday's had more playoff success than Eric Bledsoe in his career. He's made it to the second round with the Pelicans back in 2017, I believe. And then I believe they also made the playoffs with the 76ers in his rookie season in 2013. You can check on that too. I don't know if they made the playoffs that year, but I know he was an all-star. So he has more playoff success in the history of Eric Bledsoe, who used to play for the Clippers, but I believe that was before Chris Paul. And maybe been partially with Chris Paul there. But yeah, it's a great series by Giannis and them, and the Heat are really going to have to review and reload. They made it to the finals last year, but it seemed like the offseason being as short as it was really hindered their ability in the playoffs as they retired. But I feel like we can move on to the next series, which was not close as well. None of the East series were all that close. Nets versus Celtics. What do you think about the Nets versus Celtics?
Yeah, just to go back on playoff series for Eric Bledsoe, Clippers 2012 and 2013, and then just Milwaukee 2018, 2019, and 2020.
And then Drew Holiday was at the
Drew-
2017. Because that's what I said about Drew Holiday.
Okay,
was that he
gotcha.
made it in 2017 second round with the Pelicans.
I will
I think it was
double check
2017.
you. Let's see.
Could have been 18.
Will
But
it
no, I
be-
think it's 17.
Okay. Oh, 18
Ah,
and 15. And then 2012 with Philadelphia.
yeah, I thought it was 2012 with Philadelphia. I thought 2012 or 2013 with Philadelphia. Now I knew he made it with the Pelicans, but I didn't know. I knew it was 1 year with KD, and
Gotcha.
those 2 years merged together because the Warriors dominated the playoffs for both years, and neither year was really close in the finals either. So those years really merged in my mind. But I knew that they faced a dominant KD-led, or at least KD-helped Warriors team. But what do you think about the Nets versus Celtics series?
It was good. Just pedestrian numbers for you, but it's okay. You'll get another day where you go 6 for 6. But Nets versus Celtics. Speaking of 6 for 6, and speaking of KD, they did really well offensively, which is what everyone expects. To me, the Celtics hurts not having Brown play. So that hurts, but Jason Tatum did go off one night, which was 50 points for the Celtics. But outside of that, it's trouble, and I'm very intrigued by how their front office makeup is going to work.
Yeah, because Danny Ainge left, and Brad Stevens is now their head of basketball operations. So it's going to be an interesting move. And while Jason Tatum had 40 points in Game 4, his shooting percentage wasn't all that great, and he just attempted a ton of free throws. He was really stifled by the Nets. They didn't allow him to make many threes in Game 4 or Game 5, and they made sure that Kemba Walker didn't get going or any of the other guys. It's really damage control, as I like to call it. We'll talk about that again. I will definitely use that word again against, or at least that phrase, when we talk about the Blazers series. Because the Nuggets, that's what it was. It was damage control. They're like, everybody cannot score unless your name is Damian Lillard. In which case, you can score as many points as you want because one player cannot beat an entire team. And that's really what this was. The Nets obviously have more stars than the Nuggets, and I think that's why they got it done faster. One more game, faster than 6. They got it done in 5. But yeah, the Steve Nash and crew are definitely a viable option to see in the finals, and we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, and just to go talk about Brad Stevens moving to the office, have you seen one of the candidates for the head coaching job for the Celtics?
Could it be Terry Stotts, the guy who just got fired by Portland?
He could be now, but they were looking at Jason Kidd, which I
thought Portland was looking at Jason Kidd because Damian Lillard was like, I want Jason Kidd. And Jason Kidd gives me he obviously went to the playoffs with the Bucks, and I don't think he was fairly fired. However, Mike Budenholzer has really succeeded him with more success than obviously he had. Jason Kidd also coached the Nets for a number of years, and I don't believe he made the playoffs with the Nets. Jason Kidd is obviously just like Steve Nash, except Jason Kidd actually won a championship. But we'll have to see how that works out. I do think he'll get a coaching job. There's now 3 coaching jobs open after Orlando also just released. Or I guess they agreed to part ways is the nice way to put it. But now the Magic job's open, Portland, and so are the Boston Celtics. So I think we can move on to the next series. Sixers versus Wizards. This is really marred by injuries on both sides of the ball. Joel did get injured in Game 4, but Davis also got injured in Game 4 and was out for 4 to 6 weeks anyway. The Wizards obviously had injuries heading into this series. Their starting center and starting small forward were both out. In Denny Adviha, their starting small forward, and Thomas Bryant, starting center, both got off to great starts this year. And I do think great things are in the future for the Wizards. Besides Russ, their core is pretty young. Brad's only 27, and the rest of the core, Rui, Denny, Thomas Bryant, Davis Bertans, and Daniel Gafford. All these guys are pretty young, and I'm excited to see for the future. But the Sixers are now. Doc Rivers is really showing his playoff success that he had before. He's coached for a while. I remember back in 2000, he was coaching the Magic back when they had Ben Wallace on the team. But that's just a fun fact for all of those who don't know, and I have somehow reserved in my memory. But the Clippers are obviously struggling more with Ty Lue than they have with Doc Rivers, and I think what really is going to tell what's going to happen in the series is the health of Joel Embiid. Clint Capella is a great defensive center, and if Joel is not 100%, I believe he will be locked down. So we'll have to see what happens, and Ben Simmons needs to make his free throws. What do you think?
That's an excellent transition because I was going to talk about Ben Simmons' free throws, where the Wizards took a very interesting approach. Just foul Ben Simmons.
Hack a Simmons, yeah.
And he did not. He that was bad. So Ben Simmons is your guy. That's scary because it's going to be a much closer game, in my opinion, with the Hawks. And then to talk about the Sixers, you talked about Doc Rivers. I'm going to stay within his extended family, I guess, with Seth Curry. He is doing well. Of course, Mavs fans are angry about the trade with Richardson, but it is what it is. We still got another pick. But so that's really helping out just shooters, which could be difficult for the Hawks as the Knicks offense wasn't really that great when playing. So if Seth Curry gets hot or Danny Green, it could be bad as Simmons is a great facilitator. But that's one thing to keep an eye on is his free throws. And now we go to the big thing that we hinted at it. It's the Hawks versus the Knicks. Trae Young did great in Madison Square Garden. However, some stars for the Knicks, Julius Randle and RJ Barrett, not the series I think they were hoping they would do in this. They didn't play as well as they wanted to, I think. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, just to go back to the Sixers real quick, I wanted to mention this before we moved on, but it's fine. The Sixers really took advantage of their 3-point scoring, like you mentioned. The Wizards have struggled with 3-point scoring, and after their best 3-point shooter, Davis Bertans, was out, they really struggled, and they're going to have to make some moves. If Portland does want to trade Damian Lillard, the Wizards are always open. We can trade you Russ and 3 first or 4 first-round picks, and we'll take Dame off your hands. But I don't want Dame. If I'm going to be honest, I don't want Dame to leave. Dame gives me a Bradley Beal type of feel. Very loyal person that everyone's like, oh, Dame wants to be traded when Dame doesn't want to be traded. It's crazy how people give so little respect to these players and their wants. If they want to stay, they want to stay. Don't force them to leave. I love the loyalty of Dame, and I prefer him to stay. But if he does want to leave, Washington's always open.
If you're going to advertise the Wizards, I'm going to advertise the Mavs. Dame, if you want a 7-3 guy who has better days coming, you can take Porzingis, and we'll take Covington or someone else you want to get rid of. But I do agree with you. I want Dame to stay. Yours is probably a more realistic option than Porzingis, someone wanting Porzingis right now. But we'll get to that depending on how the Mavs play. But we'll go back to the East, and we'll go to the Hawks. What did you think?
Yeah, so Trae Young really impressed me, but I think the most impressive part was how dominant defensively Capella was against Julius Randle. Julius Randle, the first 4 games, I think shot 24.1%. Yeah, it was really bad. In game 5, he didn't shoot too much better. And made Rose's percent up to like 27 or 28 for the series. But Derrick Rose was their best player on their team, and that really cannot happen when you have star young players like RJ Barrett and Julius Randle, who you mentioned. You can also throw Emmanuel quickly in there. Alec Burks was also a great asset, and I do think they're going to re-sign him. He was their best bench scorer throughout the entirety of the series and really through the entirety of the season. The injury of Mitchell Robinson's not mentioned enough, but I don't know how much I think they may trade him for cap reasons and just go the Nerlens Noel route. He'll be a cheaper option than someone who is not as injury prone, as Mr. Robinson struggled with not only leg injuries but also he broke his wrist. So we'll have to see what happens, but I think the Hawks are ready for this next round. Danilo Gallinari's made the playoffs every year forever now. He even went to OKC last year with the Chris Paul, and now Chris Paul obviously made it with the Suns this year after they haven't made it forever, and then Danilo goes to the Hawks and they make it for the first time since 2016. So I think that's something to say with those two former Clippers players that they're now winning somewhere else other than LA.
Yeah, LA definitely wants those wins. But let's talk about that more in the West. What did you say was Randall's final field goal percentage for the
I know
series?
that through the first 3 or 4 games is 24.1%, so I go around 28, 29.
That is absolutely correct. It's 0.298. So that's the total. I don't know about the specific games, but right now it says total field goal percentage during that series was 29.8. So,
Unacceptable.
oh yeah.
That's your all-star player who is averaging a ton of points. You can't have DRose and Alec Burks be your two top options. I know Taj Gibson also played particularly well for the team as a defensive option, but obviously he's not his prime and cannot score like he used to, even though he never was a volume scorer. But yeah, the Knicks are going to have to, like I said for the Heat, review and reload. I think the defensive abilities of the Knicks will be expounded next year, and Tom Thibodeau will continue to be a great head coach, but he just has to make sure not to overplay his stars like he did with DRose earlier, and I think they'll be fine. Julius needed this. The Knicks, even though they were a 4 seed, in my mind, weren't a 4 seed, especially if they would have been in the East. They just had a great regular season, and they were trying hard every game. They needed this exposure to the playoffs. The Hawks just had more experience. Lou Williams has obviously made it far, and so, like I said, Danilo Gallinari's made it with the Nuggets before. He made it with the Knicks when he played for the Knicks. He's played for the team for a while. He's played for the Knicks, Nuggets, Clippers, then OKC, and then now the Hawks. So he's gone a long way. But like I said, Lou Williams also adds to that. As I believe he was on the same 76ers team as Drew Holiday. You can check that out. I think 2012 he was also on that team.
I will check that out. And then talk about DRose. They, I think it was game 2 is when they started playing more, and then game 3 started because they really wanted to infuse some offense into that lineup. But so that's something I'm sure the Knicks are going to go after in offense. And he was at Philadelphia in 2012. Yes,
yeah, that's what
so you are correct.
I know he also played for the Raptors in 13-14 when he won his first Sixth Man of the Year. So, I mean,
not 13-14.
14-15 then?
Yeah, 14-15.
Close enough.
You're coming back from that slow start.
I'm just trying to rattle off as many stats as possible to try to fix my shooting percentage.
Yeah, you definitely have a better shooting percentage than Randall's playoff series. Pretty sure. I don't need to do the math on that.
But so let's move on to let's move on to the second round and review this. So the first game of the Sixers-Hawks series will not be today. It will be tomorrow at noon. I think this series is really going to be marked by the effect of Joel Embiid's health. And I really anticipate this to be a closer series than most anticipate. I would probably take Sixers in 6, but we'll have to see. If Joel Embiid is completely out for this series, as I know he has a partial tear and something in his knee, the Hawks may be a surprise victor here. What do you think?
I'm probably still going to roll with Sixers, probably because of their defense, and not only their defense, but I think they have an offense that can help score. Unlike the Knicks, they couldn't score, but they did play some great defense. Just they couldn't score anyway. And that is part because of the Hawks defense. But with the Sixers, I think you have some great shooters. Definitely going to be interesting to see how Simmons responds and how Rivers changes up the lineup to maybe avoid what we saw with the Wizards, just fouling Ben Simmons to have him shoot free throws and he just misses them.
And I think it's very important to realize, especially for the Hawks, that Well, not for the Hawks, for the 76ers. That the Hawks are not the Wizards. The Hawks can shoot threes. Danilo can shoot threes. Trae Young can shoot threes. Bogdan can shoot threes. So
Hooter?
this team is
Hooter, I'm pretty sure. Am I saying?
yeah. Kevin Herter, yeah,
Yeah.
and then Lou Williams. It's a 3-point shooting team, and so they're gonna have to be aware of that. Cam Reddish can also shoot threes. I haven't mentioned him. DeAndre Hunter can shoot threes. So I do think this is going to be a good matchup. I still take Sixers in 6, and so it should be a good series. The only reason why I take the Sixers here is because, and despite their injury concerns with Joel, Doc Rivers has a lot more experience than Nate McMillan, especially in this point in the playoffs, and so I think that advantage will go to them. But we can move on to the next series, Bucks versus Nets, which starts today at 6 p.m. Central. That noon tomorrow is also Central, so Eastern time 1, and today Eastern time 7 p.m. I think this should be a really good series. I think I had Nets in 5 or 6 before, and I'm gonna stick with that. I don't know too well if it's gonna have to be a great series from Chris Middleton. I really think he is the X factor in this series. If Chris Middleton can have a tremendous series and Giannis can keep up his great performances from round 1, they have a chance. And so, Chris Middleton's my man. If he does bad, they lose. If he does exceptionally well, averaging 30 points per game, I'd be surprised if they lost. We'll have to see. He's going to have to match KD point for point.
Okay. So very true about Middleton. I'm probably going to go with Holiday, just on his defensive side, because there's no way you can stop Kyrie or Harden, but just to limit one of them to lesser amount of points. It'll be interesting how Giannis rebounds, because you're definitely going to see him impact on the defensive side. That's why I see him making most of it, because a lot of people have build a wall against him. And then I'm just double checking our predictions. You do have, you had Nets in 6, and then I have Sixers in 6 versus the Knicks, but I still believe Sixers in 6.
And then mine Sixers and what?
You had Sixers in 5, but that was versus the Knicks. So
I still get all the points if that's right. But
yeah. But like still, those are just your predictions in the predictions video. If you want to find more analysis, make sure to check out that video. But I definitely agree this can be a great series. And it is also a pivotal series, I believe, in our predictions video, as you and I differ, because I have Bucks and you have Nets.
Yeah, I have the Nets winning the championship. So if they lose to the Bucks, not looking too great. I also need the Clippers, obviously, to win tomorrow, because I have them also going into the finals. I need another 45-point night from Kawhi, but as a Dallas native, the Clippers losing won't be the worst thing in the world. I could live with it. It's a win-win scenario for me.
Yeah.
Either my family's happy or I'm happy.
Yeah. I sort of, if they lose, I still get 1 point because of 7 games, but it'd be nice if I could get those 3. But I digress. But I think that concludes our review. Definitely going to be some good matchups, and can't wait to talk about the West, because that is going to be a very interesting episode as we discuss that. And a good thing, though, for you, if just to go to shift to the NHL, as y'all should check out our NHL predictions video. The Hurricanes did win 1 game, so it's now 2-1. So you're not.
Yeah, we needed that.
Yeah, it's better. It's looking bright for you, a little, or less bleak. I think it's a better answer. We'll see how they do tonight, as I believe they play tonight. But now, make sure to check out those episodes you were talking about. And then our next episode that we postponed, just so we can talk about the East, is the rookie QBs from last season. So Tua, Joe Burrow, Ben DiNucci, Jalen Hurts. And I was correct. It was episode 15 if you were listening to the last episode. So make sure to check out episode 15 if you're new. And we talk about QBs where they were at that moment. And then next episode, we will talk about what happened, how they evolved, if they got hit so hard that they had to have surgery on their knee. So that will be a season review, and then we will add in a little bit of predictions, which should be interesting. So make sure to check out that next episode. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.